Welcome to Something to Talk About, where I basically take all of this gear that I've got and say, you know what, I really should have something to talk about, and there's nothing better to talk about than talking with someone else. So welcome, Randy Papple. Hello, Randy.
Oh, thank you, Robert. And I'm looking at all your gear here. It's pretty neat,
It's I gotta remind people that when I first started podcasting, I literally was using like a little PC Logitech mic and an MP3 recorder that is actually still sitting here. So I went from starting with this little piece to all of this, and I gotta tell you, I still don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so something to talk about. What do you want to talk about, Randy?
We can talk about life as a paramedic, life here in Brantford, calling 911. We can talk about a little bit about PTSD. We can talk about how to call your first responders. We got lots of things.
We have lots to talk. And honestly, if this does go well and you enjoy yourself, some of those things might actually become secondary episodes, because I'm pretty sure we're just going to touch the base on a few things, because as we talked about, we do want to keep this short. Let's start right there. Life as a paramedic. I don't see a lot of paramedics. You're actually one of the few paramedics I see on a regular basis, because, we go to a lot of events, but you're one of those type of things that you really don't want to see cops, paramedics, or firefighters, because there's normally a reason for that. So life as a paramedic, sir.
Well, it is. And unfortunately, each of those, if you're seeing us out in the community, it's or at your house or at a street corner, it's probably not a good thing. And I think back how things have changed myself. Next month will be my 40th year as a paramedic, and I really look back to how things have changed. And just like you said earlier, Robert, even technology, and I think that's the big thing, how everything has changed for us as paramedics, and I'm sure as first responders, is the pen and paper thing is kind of a little bit in history now. Everything is done on a tablet, and it's, even though we still drive big trucks, big fancy trucks with everything inside it. And I quite often think how things have evolved. And I quite often say, when I'm doing presentations out in the community, talking about the paramedics in your community, it's like bringing your emergency department right to your living room or right to the street corner. Some of the things that our paramedics can do now, and it's exciting. It's really exciting, and it's really advanced over the years.
And I would only assume that they're forever connected now as well. 40 years ago when you were in the ambulance, it was you, maybe a partner back in the day, in the thing, and maybe access to a payphone somewhere nearby. You were on the street by yourself. Now you're probably accessing, the surgeon at the hospital in real time, or
exactly. And we're Bluetoothing to the hospital. We're communicating to the hospital all the time. We have our cell phones, we have portable radios that we can connect to the doctors, to our base hospital doctor. But again, it's a lot of things, how exciting things are, even for myself. I know when I see our paramedics out there, and I go, wow, and I just reflect how things have really changed over the years.
Now, for people that are not from around here, like most people around here know Randy, because you're out and about, but, for the people that are not local, walk me through maybe your career, and maybe hit the talking points, because 40 years, my God. Right now, your official title is what?
Deputy Chief for the paramedics here in Brantford Paramedic Service. We've just had a recent name change, but certainly 40 years ago, I started as an observer, writing as a third person. Then I got accepted to school in Conestoga. It was a one-year program back then. And when I got accepted to school, they asked if I'd like some part-time while I'm going to school, and I did that. And I was very, very fortunate. Upon graduation, 2 weeks prior, somebody quit full-time, so I moved right into my hometown, and been there pretty well ever since. And I did a little stint out in Hagersville and Haldeman for 3-4 years. And then came back here to my hometown, and it's been very good to me. And certainly one of the things that I enjoy, as you just mentioned, is being out in the community, and talking about how proud I am of the service that we have and all the first responders that we have in Brantford and Brant County. Try getting out to doing different presentations to different groups and talking to them. Some of the things that may happen when you dial 911, what to expect when we arrive at your doorstep, and how we can help you out on your worst day and make it as easy as possible.
Now, you mentioned on your worst day, you've obviously seen quite a bit over the years. You've seen people come and go. You've seen people grow old. You've seen babies, Maybe walk me through some of the good and the bad of 40 years of experience.
Okay, and certainly, and one of the exciting things, and you talk about newborns, and every so often, so I'm going to probably every 6 months we have a home delivery at our station, not at our station, but our paramedics go out and assist somebody that's had a delivery at home, and that's really exciting. That's always very big news within our department, paramedics, and. But also when I was on the road, it's exciting for yourself to be part of it, to help a mom and dad and bring a newborn into the family, and everything turned out well. And then I remember them showing up a year later with a piece of birthday cake, and how the years gone by, and you don't think years have gone by. And all of a sudden this young teenager comes by one day with his mom, and do you remember me? And I go, nah. Well, his mom goes, you delivered them. I go, where did those years go?
Wow.
And I quite often think, and I get teased probably quite a bit, is every time I say 5 years, everybody reminds me, Randy, it was 10 years ago. And how things have changed, how time flies.
Well, it's true when they say when you're doing something that you're meant to do. Well, 40 years, come on, to do the same thing, and for the same organization for the most part during those 40 years, that's unheard of, and especially in my industry.
Yeah, yes, and it's been good. Certainly, there is how I think back how things have grown. When I first started, we had a handful of employees. Now we have 115 employees that come from all over. We recruit from all over, and certainly it's becoming a career now, opposed to back then it was just a job. And one of the things that we had to do is some of them back there 40 years ago had to find another job because the money wasn't there. Now it's our paramedics do well.
And you know what, Karen and I were talking about this. There are certain people that I want to throw money at, teachers as an example, paramedics, the things that I need to have there done right.
Yes.
Because, take teaching, that will make or break a human being for the rest of their lives with that base education. Similarly, when the end of my life happens, you'll either be there or you won't. So, you kind of represent common entities in that sense. But yeah, but pay well. And hire the best, because I don't want someone guessing. I'm sorry.
No, and we do that is quite often now is how, and we talked about electronics, how that has changed, and I know quite often our paramedics on a way to a call, pulling out their cell phone. They have apps for everything, and they're checking that last minute drug dose if they, and I'm going to pick on on an infant, if it weighs this much, it gets this. If it doesn't weigh this much, it gets this. And just finding that fine edge and having it in their head. And quite often, even we'll send 2 crews of paramedics to a scene, and the other one is doing their thing, and the other one's double checking everything, and we're always confirming right drug to the right person at the right time, and just confirming all of that is right. And long gone are the things that, and you even see it at the hospital, everything's done in textbook. I don't think I've a textbook big enough. I have to bring a trailer to everything is on our phones now, which is again a big advancement in technology.
It always does make me wonder, though, what would happen if we didn't have that one day. But, for the most part, it's there, and it is operational. Something you brought up there that caught my ear. When the responders are out there, they're connected. But really, they don't know what they're getting into on a day-to-day. Like everything, it could be a good day, it could be a bad day, and I'm kind of building up to the PTSD. When someone dials 911, there's typically trauma. you know, on the individual. Unless you're calling 911 because you're an idiot.
Yes, yes.
And you're calling because, you know, the temperature's too cold or
Yes.
something, you know. But yeah, for the most part, when 911 gets called, that's an all hands on deck. You know, that could be a fire, that could be a domestic situation, it could be a health thing. All three parties show up on the scene. Before we maybe dial into the larger thing, what does a 911 look like? Because that is a lot of coordination, that is a lot of hands, that is a lot of very capable individuals called on the scene for one instance.
And I'll talk about our dispatch center, and it's the same as each organization, and it's like a mini NASA station. Is a lot of computers. When that first call comes in, it comes in police, fire, or paramedics. What's your emergency? You pick one, it gets sent to that organization, and if you need the others, that dispatcher and that communicator on the other end will make sure that the paramedics are needed. If it went to the police department, the paramedics are needed or the fire's needed, and they'll send those ones out right away also. So it's quite a coordinated effort to get all them. And it's like, when it's done well, it's like poetry in motion, and how quickly things move to the next organization, to the next first responder, and getting everybody out the door is, and I think back previous, we used to get some information or get a lot of our information on a phone. Now we're paged out, just get on the air, and all the information, the details of it is given to you while you're heading that way.
So your response time is considerably better because you're boots on the ground, not necessarily knowing all the details, but the details will be there, you know, by the time you arrive.
Yeah, you're right, and you see it, and you know, each of us have, you know, we have our laptops in our vehicles, which narrows it right down to the street corner. And in some centers, when the call comes in, it's lit up on your laptop where exactly it is, and the shortest distance, and where's the heavy traffic. So again, it's all technology, and it works great.
Well, especially when you're in a situation where seconds matter, especially. You know, let's bring up something that's happening a lot in Brantford, which is, you know, the opiates.
Yes.
You know, that's something you're probably getting a lot of calls on purely around that, I'm guessing. You know this far more than me.
Yes, yeah, and it does. But I really have to give a lot of credit to our Brantford. It knows we have a bit of an issue, and also a bit of an issue, and we have some proactive organizations that are working on it too. You know, we have the St. Leonard's group is heading it up. We have an aggressive police chief who is right on top of things and wants to make sure that he keeps on top of things, or his officers keep on top of things. So it's always nice to see that we're really, as a community, proactive in finding out exactly what we have in the community. If we have something come into the community, how quickly it is sent out to all the agencies involved. And I know ourselves, they want to know at our local police department is, if we have a sudden spike, let us know. But most of the times that they're there. But if there's something in an area that, you know, whether it be the West End or the East End or up in the Shellers Lane area, if something happens up there and we suddenly get 3 calls in a day, there's something going on. We're going to put extra boots on the ground and try finding where that source is.
Yeah, no, and like I said, you try not to focus too much on it, but you know, it's something that does get some press in the process. Now, one of the things that you brought up, and I forget what it's called, but in the event that someone is dealing with someone with a crisis, specifically opiates in this case, there's a clause or whatnot that you can call, and you're not going to necessarily get in trouble to help the individual. There's a term for that. I don't know what. Do you know what I'm talking about? No,
but there is. I don't know the buzzword right off.
But it's to me one of the things that I've always thought about when I think about health.
Yes,
is you don't want to be the one calling the doctor.
No.
Okay,
no.
And let alone calling the ambulance. And let alone calling 911 if someone's dying of a heroin or worse, you know, overdose beside you. And I believe that there are things in play, and it's a shame I can't remember the term, and I'm sure, you know, it'll come up as soon as we're done talking.
Of course.
But I guess my point being is, don't be scared to call in those scenarios.
You're right, and that's the big thing. Calling for help getting somebody for help. And so often we hear throughout the year, throughout my career, I didn't want to get involved. I didn't want to be the finger pointed at me. And I think someone's down and needs assistance, we'd much rather hear from you and get help to that person.
And don't lie to the medics.
Yeah, and be able to say thank you at the end, opposed to, why did you not call earlier? Why didn't somebody call earlier? So that's our big thing, is call early. We'd rather be there early and give them some assistance early and get them to the hospital at the right time.
The main topic that I want to broach, and I'm just obviously aware of the time and I want to factor it in and I don't want to skirt it too much. You see a lot.
We do.
And I know you've been affected by certain things, and we've never talked details, and I don't necessarily want to pry or anything like that, but I'd love to hear your story, in terms of what you've gone through, what you're willing to share in your own words. Yeah, I know. There's the grin. I told you didn't know what you were in for.
Yeah, and thank you.
I even brought you a cat just for comfort.
Yeah, comfort. Yeah, my therapy cat right now is no, and and I'll talk as all first responders, and sometimes, and in my case too, a call that happened 25 years ago, didn't think about it. I avoided the intersection where it was for many, many years, and then I, and there's 2 or 3 calls throughout Brantford that I would go around that block because I just wanted to avoid that area. And then one day out of the blue, we're doing and I know exactly when it was in the fall of 14, we're doing a round table thing with the police, fire, mental health, the health, Brant County Health Unit, the Brantford General Hospital, because we were suddenly in the fall of 14, summer and fall of 14, we've had a sudden spike in suicide teenagers, and so then it's all over. It's like us here in a little bit closing the mics down and saying great job, and then it kind of went around the table. Hey, you guys, you do see some bad stuff. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, this call came back from, almost, like I said, 25 years ago, and just pouring down my cheeks. And thank goodness, I can't say enough about we had a lady there from Canadian Mental Health, and I left the room, left everybody there. She followed me out in the parking lot. What happened, Randy? I've never seen you like that. I said, I don't know where this came from. It just, something happened in that room. And it took a lot after that to work on it where I can get back to sleep in regular patterns. And unfortunately miss some time at work trying to get some counseling. And I cannot say enough. I'm a big believer now in counseling, and I joke and say I'm on the maintenance program. Every 6 months I'm in there, whether we're talking hockey or something. When I leave, I'm making my next appointment, and I look back at and I know after the 3rd or 4th session things are getting better, and I talked about I want to set one every 6 months, and he said, and I know that was one thing they were so happy about, because we'd much rather see you at your maintenance program than you coming in here and we're talking about trying to get back to doing 4 hours of work, trying to get your sleep pattern back, and not hiding in the dark and not becoming secluded for a while. And it was almost I'm like yourself, I'm on Facebook quite a bit, and I just went off Facebook and stopped doing a lot of my activities, stopped running, just didn't want to be around anybody. And then finally, chipping away at it, and it took a lot to say, Randy, I want you to get out there, walk 1 kilometer, then try running 1 kilometer. And you got to get your things back on, get back to work, and at least hang out with some guys that you could share with. And it worked out well. And now I could stand up and do a whole presentation on PTSD and resiliency and being proactive for your health, because it means a lot to me. I want to see you at work every day. I want to see you be able to get through a day and not having the nightmares, and not having the sweats, and not being able to go out with your family and friends because you're just not the person you were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And it takes work. I know it took a lot of work on my end. It took a lot of family support on my end. And I know when this all kind of hit the fan, my kids are calling me because that incident that I talked about was in 2015, Canadian Mental Health asked if I would help. They got a government grant. Would I be able to tell that story through as a kickoff to Canadian Mental Health? So we did a little video, and if you want to look at it, it's Randy Papple. It's on YouTube. Randy Papple PTSD, and it took a lot to get through that, but probably one of the better things I did in my career, because what it did, it during that I was taking counseling and doing this video, and it was bringing out some hard things, some hard to talk about things, but it got out there on the table. And certainly, the people, when we were doing the video, were very understanding, and I was making appointments almost every other day at the counselors for about that 2 weeks while we got through this video. And I look back now and say that was one of the best things that I did. You so often, it went from the old school of put the old stigma of put up and keep on going, and it's part of the job. Well, there's assistance out there, and I'm really promoting now how to be proactive and a lot more resiliency in preventing things like that. Getting out and doing things that are for you, doing things that that are good for your body, good for your soul, and everything. We mentioned here our therapy cat that's walking around here today. Find out things that make you happy. And I know there last summer when we happened to have a dog, and I spent many, 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 many kilometers running with my dog. How things switched. Before, I used to run with groups and always be with somebody chatting it up but we took the summer, and my dog and I, Hooch and I, and we ran many, many kilometers bound through the beautiful trails we have here and in Brantford, and just enjoyed each one of them. And by the time fall came, the first couple of snowfalls, poor Hooch, no, I don't want to go with you anymore. You're already on yourself.
It's the trails here are spectacular.
Yes.
It's by far one of the things that saved me, and you've known me through that period of time. One of the things that you do on the side that I think it kind of is linked to all of this is your clown project, for lack of a better term. So tell me about Band-Aid.
Benny the Clown, yes. The Benny the Clown, he's been around, again, wow, almost 30 years. And how Benny the Clown started was life before kids. I was very fortunate. Lived beside Doug the Great, Doug Hunt.
Were you actually neighbors to Doug?
We were neighbors.
Oh my God, I did not know that.
Yeah, and that was life before kids. And I was a very young ambulance driver back then. That's what they called us, ambulance drivers back then. And asked to come into a couple of nursery schools and schools. Can you tell us, can we see through your ambulance? Can we see through your truck? And I'd bring my first aid bag and go, this is my first aid bag, any questions? This is, if somebody's really sick, we give them oxygen, any questions? I was in and out of those schools in 15 minutes. And I brought Doug with me one day, and he went, Randy, you really you suck, buddy, you suck. We got to get some humor into some of this stuff. So he gave me a couple of books, and we practiced. I practiced in front of Doug, and we made, and then I really stepped out, and I made myself a little tiny ambulance made out of a scooter. I squeezed myself into it, and ever since then, it's been my place to go. Yes, I entertain with that. Yes, I do, and probably on the most part do a lot of fundraising with that. Yes, I can twist some balloons, and I often say I can twist any balloon character you want, as long as it's a dog or cat. Yeah, and it's and we have fun with it. It is because it is a fun thing to do. And also the other thing that we've done, we reached out and we got into the hospital, our local hospital here in Brantford. And every Wednesday night, we, our clown group, the Fun Troop it's called, go to the Brantford General Hospital, and we entertain for an hour and a half throughout the hospital. We give out little stickers. We do some quick little magic and just entertain, right from the children to the adults to the visitors, and make our way over to the emergency department. And I think it's fun for everyone. It's certainly fun for us. We have fun, and it takes the patients and the visitors' mind off of what they're there for, just for that few minutes. And we quite often get invited to different things that the hospital's having. It's been fun. Certainly as Bandy the Clown, I've traveled a lot with Bandy the Clown. I do some street entertaining, being to Kingston. I think it's been my 29th or 30th year being a street entertainer. I've entertained for the Gretzky's families. And, you think about over the years where all this has taken you. And if it was just Randy Papple, I don't think I would have ever got invited to a lot of these things where entertained, and the other thing that I do, and I mentioned it real quick, is I've taken a little bit what Bandy the Clown does, and in my running, I blended the two, and I juggle. It's called joggling. Is I jog.
Is that the official?
The official name?
Because I've seen you do it.
Is I juggle when I run, and I've ran down in Philadelphia representing Canada today, and all my Canada shorts, my Canada socks, my Canada jersey, and I picked up a couple little sponge balls with all Canada, and I tied a little flag for, and I ran it. It flew behind me, the Canada flag, and it was really exciting coming through that finish line. I didn't realize how many Canadians were there cheering me on, and I'm always here running in Brantford. It's it's out of the School for the Blind. It has and it's fun. I've been out to BC a couple of times, racing out there, and but it's just fun things that we get involved in. It's where it takes you. And I think that's the big thing, is just having the passion, having fun with it, and let it happen. I'm being very fortunate. I talk about Bandy the Clown. I've been featured in a couple of magazines, front page of magazines. And 2002, Reader's Digest voted Bandy the Clown the 2002 Canadian Hero, Volunteer Hero. So you go. And I think back then, the day I got that phone call are you phoned, and are you Randy Papple, Bandy the Clown? Yes. And no different than any office phones. We have 3 or 4 phones that are lines that come in. I notice a couple others, and I'm trying to sneak around the corners, thinking, who's hiding around the corner telling me they're from Reader's Digest, and we voted you the 2002 Canadian Hero. And I'm going, I'm in a little town of Brantford. How did you even hear about me? Well, we have our sources. We got to a big committee, and then you got to the small one, and we voted you 2002. And I actually said, give me your phone number, give me your extension, I'll call you back, because I think somebody's playing a practical joke here on me. Called them back, and they said, what was that all about? And I said, I'm sure you belong in an office. We got a whole bunch of jokesters that would do something like that to me. And no, I get it. And they started laughing. And no, we want to line up some photo shoots with you. And they did. And that was anybody picks up the Reader's Digest and it looks on the back page always features somebody. And in 2002, it was voted the Canadian's Hero. Volunteer hero.
I did not know that.
I'll bring you a copy. I'll sign you a copy. I'll bring it.
There you go. You probably got 100 of them in your basement. We've been there. It would sadden me if you had not gone through that chasm, because not only is Randy the runner and juggler, how do I say it properly? Joggler would not be joggling. But Band-Aid would not be making dogs and cats. So, and let alone, your full-time job.
Yes.
So thank you on 3 counts, I guess, is what I'm saying, that you were able to overcome that, because, trauma comes in many ways. We've had some brief chats about it, and, I'm 10 years into my recovery, so, still recovering every day. So it's a long process. I can correlate with you on that one. So on that note, anything you want to add?
No, if you're, if down the road, if you're at the Brantford General Hospital, feel free to, on a Wednesday night, keep an eye for us. It's the Brantford General Hospital. It's called the Fun Troop, where they're usually there 6:30 to 8-ish. If you're looking for these sort of donations. It's the Fun Troop at the Brantford General Hospital making a donation to support our group is big because one thing we want to do is keep on giving out stickers, give out coloring books, give out crayons to support it's the need of keeping the passion alive, keeping the humor alive, and just let people enjoy sometimes and take their mind off some of the troubled things that we have in our lives, and just enjoy with us.
And if you happen to be listening to this on the Braggle listing with this podcast episode, there will be a donation button that will help you help the Fun Troop. But even if you don't happen to come across that and you're hearing this and you want to help and you're in Brantford, definitely reach out to the hospital and say, we want to support the Fun Troop. At the end of the day, they're doing that out of their own kindness and out of their own pockets. So let's help that as well. So thank you, Randy. This has been a spectacular chat, and I look forward to doing more of these and potentially having you back as well, sir.
We will do that. Look forward to it. And thank you. And look at this equipment. It's
I know.
Cool.
Hey, you know what else it allows me to do? It allows me to do this.
Don't press the red button.
On that note, thank you, everybody.